We back, man, and it's your boy, it's your guy, it's the homie, man, it's Beezy. Welcome back, man, to the MMP. That's the Muddy Mindset Podcast. Today clocks in our fourth episode, and we got a great show for y'all today, man. We got our first ever guest to come bless the podcast, and I'm super excited to introduce my boy and put y'all on to some of the dope work that he's out here doing in our community. Before we jump in, I know I say this every episode, but the engagement and support is multiplying every time I drop, man. And I just can't say thank you enough to everyone who's down with me. And thank you to everyone who's down with the MMP. Y'all know that this show is still a work in progress, but it's only gonna get better with every episode and with y'all input. Y'all been telling me to quit playing and to make these episodes longer, and I'm gonna give the people what they want, man. So let's just jump straight into it. If you're new here or you've been rocking with me for a while, just know that the Muddy Mindset Podcast is all about shining a light on systemic issues like gun violence and poverty, breaking down the roots behind the struggles in our community, and highlighting the resilience that comes from the mud. We keep it real, we keep it balanced, and we always put the muddy perspective front and center. Shit, since episode 1, I've been talking about bringing a guest on the show, especially folks who are out here daily in the mud doing the work that changes lives. And that's exactly what we're here to do today. So without wasting any more time, let me introduce a pillar and a leader in our community. You might have met him as a mentor in juvenile detention, or as a coach on the football field or the basketball court. He's a mentor, a program director, a youth football coach, a father, and an aspiring TPD officer. Let me be the first to welcome the one and only Milton Ashford II to the MMP. My boy, we are so happy to have you here, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, man. Thank you, man. I appreciate this opportunity, man, just to be able to hopefully inspire the community.
Yeah, man, that's what we're here to do today, bro.
Yes,
We're
sir.
going to do just that.
Yes, sir.
Milton, man, so tell the people who you are and what you've been getting into.
First and foremost, Milton Ashford II. I was born and raised in Toledo, Ohio. Currently, right now, I am in the police academy. We're about halfway through, so I'm just kind of pushing through within the police academy. I was born and raised on the east side of Toledo, more or less Weiler Homes area.
Oh, yeah, out the dub, yeah.
Yeah, so that upbringing, it shaped my whole idea of just living in general. Growing up, I never had a hero, so it was important for me to create the hero within myself.
For sure.
And through that, came a lot of trials and tribulations, transitional decision making within my life. So in second grade, I was diagnosed with ADHD.
Okay.
And I had a mother who she didn't really believe in traditional medication and those different ways of helping youth manage ADHD. And actually, around that time, mental health wasn't a huge priority as it is now. So my mom, she single handedly did what she could in order to help me cope. Well, throughout my life, I struggled. Early on, I struggled to make friends. I struggled with a lot of my personal relationships with people. To be honest, I've had several different jobs because I really couldn't find my purpose. But it wasn't until 2020 when I got back to Toledo from Illinois, and I started working as a paraprofessional. And within that job, so
I don't mean to cut you off, but can you explain what a paraprofessional is?
so a paraprofessional is there to help the teacher to execute the curriculum.
Okay, yeah.
Because there's some students who may need an addendum to the curriculum in order to succeed. So the paraprofessional is there to maybe do one-on-one with certain kids, maybe take certain kids out of the class, maybe take a group of children out of the class.
In the space of, the IEP.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep. But how God work is, so my partner, Johnny Reese, I went to meet him at the school because he just got the job at the school, right? So I was taking him an apple to the school. He a teacher.
Johnny.
He a teacher, so I was taking him an apple to the school, right?
Yeah.
And so when I went up to the school, I ended up meeting the principal who actually, she was my band teacher in high school. And then the assistant principal was my principal for about a quarter or so when I went to Alliance Academy.
Okay.
Right? So as I'm in the classroom with Johnny, they call up to the classroom and say, hey, tell Milton to send down his resume. I'm like, okay. So when I sent down the resume, she pulled me in and offered me the job. So originally I was supposed to be a paraprofessional, but I ended up teaching the computer science class. So I taught the whole school, K through 8, and I was supposed to teach them this coding program, but I explained to the school that the coding program is step 10 and the kids need a step 1 through 5.
Right.
So what we did was we took it to the basics and we taught the kids how to log into the computer, how to create a secure password, how to log into Google, right? How to use the Google suite and all those different things,
Yeah,
right? Which that actually transitioned into the pandemic. Because when we got sent home, all of our kids were able to access the Google Classroom
because they knew what they was doing.
because they knew what they were
They got
doing.
that step 1 through 5.
That exactly.
Right.
But see, the way things work is all I was doing was just following the plan that I felt was needed at that time. Right. Granted, I didn't know we were gonna go into the pandemic. You know what I mean? It just all happened to be at the right place at the right time.
For sure, man. So as y'all hear it, man, Milton's one of them ones. I think I explained in my last episode that my first case management job was with the Zeph Center, right? And that's where we met. It's really where my career started. But I know you explained in conversation with me that it's where your career transitioned. Since then, we've collabed countless times, to make sure that these young folks out here are supported in the way that they need. So, Milton, I'd like for you to explain when your work and life, start to shift into what you are and what you're about today, and tell us a little bit more about that transition.
So my job ended with Central Academy, but during that time I was exposed to mental health. I really wasn't too abreast of what the mental health field was before then, but we had a mental health agency that was inside of our school who was doing great work, and I began to learn a little bit more about it. As I began to transition, I started to apply for different companies. Some companies didn't accept me because I didn't have any experience, so on and so forth. But my aunt, she actually runs a company, and I started working for her. So I started working for her for a couple months, and I gained that experience that I needed. So from there, I transitioned to Zeph Center.
Yep,
Right. And it was amazing because, Zeph Center is one of the top companies within the city,
exactly.
right? For so many different reasons, right? And they had a lot of access and a lot of resources that if you had the skills, it highlighted your skills,
Right.
right? Resources like being able to have transportation to go to and from clients and a place to take the clients and, just more resources.
Little stuff that's overlooked, man. I
Yeah.
had a meeting today about how important it is to have two things: a central location and transportation.
Yeah.
And so just little stuff that get overlooked. But
Yeah, just those small things
yeah,
make a huge difference.
yeah,
But throughout that work though, started to see more into myself because I was handling more kids that had different diagnoses. Some of their diagnoses and symptoms were similar to the symptoms that I had when I was a youth, right? So it's like I was really beginning to see myself. But hindsight 2020, now I have the ability to use the resources as an adult, right?
yeah.
To help these youth that were struggling in ways that I was struggling at that time. So what it really forced me to do though is to take my mental health serious. A lot of people don't know, and I really haven't shared this with many, but around that time that I worked with Zeph Center, I was in a real dark place. And I was in a dark place because there was a lot of things that were a mystery to me within my life. And I felt like I was walking in my purpose, but I wasn't fulfilled. It kind of put me in a space where, I'm not gonna say I had imposter syndrome, but I would go to work and I was kind of thinking maybe I wasn't good enough for the job for to do the work, or I didn't have the skills that I
You
needed
started
in
doubting
order to
your
be.
ability.
I started doubting my ability, right?
Yeah,
But although I felt like I was in a dark place, I still continued to work on myself and still continue to press forward. And then through that, Deaf Center began to highlight the abilities within myself. So what they did was they promoted me. They promoted me to the job mental health specialist
mhm,
at JDC. Really kind of felt like in that position, a lot of people didn't want that position
wow,
because they felt like I don't want to say that they were afraid of the children, but they didn't understand
mhm.
that population enough.
Yeah, man. And, like I said earlier, we've collabed countless times, even in the work that I do today, to make sure that the kids are supported.
Mm.
Before we move forward, now that we're on the topic, I do want to reiterate to even the audience that when we talk about these topics, especially with youth, we always make sure to put their privacy and safety first. So when we explain
Indeed.
these situations, we make sure to remain as vague as possible for their protection and ours. It's crazy to me that people can look at a position like that and think that these kids are too hot to handle when they're in a space where intervention is necessary for survival.
But I see, but it's controversial because you got to understand that a lot of people aren't equipped to deal with those type of behaviors, right?
Right.
We aren't afraid because it's who we are, right? and it's where we came from. So we're easily to adapt to it, right? Unlike someone that may come from a place with less chaos, right? Or a place where they haven't experienced a lot of those transitional behaviors.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So they can't resonate with that
So
trauma.
they can't resonate with that trauma. And let me kind of backtrack a bit. I don't want to say that they were afraid
Right.
because I don't think that's what it was. They just couldn't connect,
Yeah.
right? And it's actually a good thing because I was able to,
Exactly.
fill that void.
Exactly. And you, like I said, I ain't gonna share too much, man, but the work that Milton was able to help coordinate and the support that he was able to help coordinate and how much these kids have been impacted by him. I mean, it's kids today that talk about him and he left such a lasting impact that work is just so vital and is needed. And so we know that you transition and that you're on to bigger and better things now, but just know that the work that you did in that space in that moment was so necessary to so many people.
Definitely,
For sure.
definitely.
So look, man, since I've known you, I seen that you made a real impact with Toledo's youth in your own way. I know that you've been involved with a youth sports league for quite a minute now. So can you tell the folks, how does that help you connect with and redirect those struggling kids that we work with?
Oh man, it's beautiful because I think that every opportunity to meet with the child, no matter what avenue it is, it's a tool. Whether it's sports, whether it's a community organization, right? It gives you that opportunity in that common ground, right? So with sports, for instance, we were able to not only highlight the abilities of the youth, but highlight the struggles that they may have. Like for instance, I'm gonna highlight a young youth. We're just gonna call him K. Lee. So K. Lee was a young guy who he started playing in our program back in 2020. He actually went to one of the schools that I taught at, and this young guy grew up in an area where his mom had him in a decent area, but his influences weren't as promising for him to continue to be as great as we know he can be.
Right, right.
So countless times we try to steer him in the right direction, by explaining to him like, look, your friends are your future, right?
Right.
So if you go and you do a poll of all the friends that you have, right, you are the average of that, right? And that's not a knock to say that you gotta leave your homeboys, right? But that just means that you have to have more positive friends.
Man, I heard a saying once. It goes, if you have to be the biggest person in the room, you need to find a bigger room.
Exactly.
You need to find a
Exactly.
bigger room.
Because your ceiling ain't gonna be high.
Yeah.
So this young man, when I was working in that position, he got into some trouble.
Okay.
So not only was I able to mentor him on the field, but and on the court, but in his time of struggle, I
Yeah.
was able to be there when he was falling. Right now, this young man gonna be getting a scholarship next year. He's
Yeah.
he's one of the top running backs in the city right now.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Shout out to bro.
And it's amazing because I was able to see him, as a little pup, as he was crawling, then he was walking, now he's running. You know what I mean? But to kind of transition, I had another young man who played on this same exact team, and his life didn't go the same way.
Wow.
I actually want to just kind of give a shout out to him and his life as well. Actually lost his life a couple weeks ago. He was murdered here in the city, and it's tough because he was a young man that really wasn't able to live his life, fully. But in this work, we know that we're not going to save everybody. And I think that's what makes the work that we do that much more powerful because even within the loss, we still have to continue to uplift the ones that we have in front of us.
Man, absolutely. Absolutely, man. Later on in the show, I really want to take a deep dive into, your perspective on what separates a kid from being just a product of their environment to becoming a victim to it. And so we'll be able to get into that. Before we get into the next topic, I want to talk to you about something that you're working on right now. In episode 2, I shared one of my most traumatic experiences with the police. And if y'all want to know more, you got to go back and listen. But what stuck with me the most is that in that experience, I never interact with anyone that look, act, or talk like me. And I say that to say having people in law enforcement who come from and can connect with the communities that they serve is something that we don't see enough of. And, I think it's something that we as a community got to start to fully support in order to bridge that gap. So I am so proud to share with our folks on the MMP that Milton is currently in the academy to become a TPD officer.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man, it's
Yes, sir.
huge. That's huge to me, and I really want to talk about what made the light bulb go off, man. You know, what made you want to get into law enforcement?
So I've always had a love for law enforcement. Back in the I want to say 2012, I attempted to join TPD. I took the test. Back then, there was this test that you had to take. They give you all these
2012.
Yeah.
Yeesh, I don't even know what I was doing. I wasn't even in.
My bad. I'm showing my age. So they gave us this printout of all these mugshots.
Mhm.
You had to like remember the mugshots,
Yep.
and then you had to go and take a test in this big old room with like everybody there, like 100 and something people,
Yep.
or however many people. It was extremely intimidating. Well, back then, that test, I think I missed the cutoff by like 11 points. So then I transitioned to potentially going to the Army, but that kind of got shut down because I had to get custody of my son around that time.
Correct.
So,
Yeah, man.
so I never lost it. I kept pushing. So I had this one experience, this transitional experience. In like 2014, I was driving this beater. My grandma had gave me this this green Ford Escort. It was a 2-door, and
Okay.
I called it the Green Goblin. Yeah, I'm riding home from work, man, and I'm talking. I'm doing a dash. Now, mind you, doing a dash in this car, the engine was broke. So of course, I thought I was going 60. But you feel me? I probably was going like maybe 45.
You was pushing that mug,
But I was pushing it.
pushing it. Yeah.
So I'm flying down my street. I pull down the street. I get to the alley. Next thing you know, the police behind me. So they pull me over.
Whoop.
He asks for my license and registrations and whatnot. I give him my ID. He goes to the car. He comes back. He say, "Is Milton Ashford your dad?" I'm like, "Yeah." He said, "Man, don't be like him."
Mm.
I was like, wow. So that really struck me because, my dad, I really looked up to my dad.
Right.
You know what I mean? My dad taught me everything that I know. You know what I mean? So from there, I kind of took that as a positive. And what I said was, all right, I'm gonna make this name positive. I'm gonna make sure when they speak of this name, they have their head up when they speak of this name. I said, I'm gonna work to get into TPD.
Because they going to have to address that name with respect.
For sure.
Yeah, they going to have to.
100%. 100%. And it's no knock on those officers and, or any of that.
Yeah.
This is just an experience that I had.
No, I feel you.
And it was a transitional moment within my life. You know what I mean? So yeah. So from then on, I think life began to take me, here and there, and now we're here
For sure.
in the academy halfway through.
Yeah, man. So tell us about that, man. Tell us about your journey in the academy so far. And, after that, tell us when you're looking to graduate.
So the academy experience is more like the Army, is more Army bearing.
Yeah.
Difference between the two is with the Army, you're at the Army, so you only focus on the Army.
Yeah.
But within the academy, you got to go home, right? And you got to be a father. You got to still be a leader. You still have those responsibilities that you have to take care of. So what it requires in order to be successful is a ton of discipline.
Right.
And you have to be disciplined in areas in which you've never thought you needed to be disciplined in.
Okay.
I mean, sleeping, eating, working out, right? But you have to be intentional.
Intentional.
You have to be intentional, because things pop up, things happen so fast, and you have to be ready.
Right.
So what it required for me to be successful is for me to dig deep within myself.
Okay.
There's a lot of ego that I had to get rid of. Coming from a background of being a supervisor and being a leader and all these different jobs and all these different areas of my life, right? I had to go back and be a follower,
Be a hard transition.
And that takes a lot of down in your ego,
Yeah.
right? So
It's humbling.
it's very humbling. It's very humbling, man. So within that, it was important for me to, like I said, develop these disciplines that I have now. The discipline to be prompt, the discipline to be just be ready to execute, and just be prepared. And graduation, we graduate November.
November.
Yep.
Oh, that's
So the
soon.
beginning of November, we graduate. We're about halfway through.
Public.
Yes, it's public.
Gotta
Yep.
come see you.
Yep, definitely. Oh yeah, definitely. I'm gonna definitely send you an invite.
No doubt, man.
Yes, sir.
So before we switch gears, man, can you drop any advice for any young black men looking to get into law enforcement?
Number one, stay out of trouble. I
Number
mean,
one.
I can't stress that enough. You have to stay out of trouble, man. And you have to stay away from people and places that draw trouble. Because a lot of people think that staying out of trouble just means don't have interaction with the police, but if you're around people and places that have trouble, then that's where the police are going to be attracted to. You know what I mean? I would also say too, develop a discipline. Discipline starts with, just like every day people get up and they brush their teeth and wash their face and things like that. Develop a discipline on how you eat. Develop a routine on working out. Develop a routine on reading. Develop a routine on finding things that inspire you. And these are all things that are set aside from the work and the job. Right? These are all personal development things. And if you plan early, and I'm gonna just be 100% honest and transparent, you really can't prepare for academy or anything just because it's so vigorous that you just can't prepare for
throw
it.
yourself in there.
You just got to throw yourself in there.
Right.
But the more prepared you are, the better you'll
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. All right. So at the end of episode 2, my signing off advice was to recognize that you can be a product of your environment without becoming a victim to it. And, I want to touch on that a little bit in this episode. And I'll take it a step further and say that there are only 2 type of high-risk kids or youth that live in the hood in general. There's one that's a product and there's one that's a victim of their environment. The only difference between these kids is that the victim can't dream better because they never seen better. So you got to ask yourself, why would they want to do better? Like I shared earlier, Milton has worked with some of the highest risk kids in the city. So Milton, from your experience, what drives some kids to shift from being a product in their environment to becoming a victim to it?
Ooh. So first I want to say, when I think about product versus victim, I think of product meaning they were shaped by the community, right? Some positively and some negatively. And then when I think about being a victim, victimized meaning being trapped within the system of the streets or the community. And some of the things that I've witnessed that worked is just more love. And sometimes love doesn't come from the people that you even expect. Right?
Tell me more.
Because love might come in a form of giving guidance. Love might come in discipline.
It's a huge love language that people don't recognize to be a love language.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Love might come from Mr. Bryson. Exposure. Exposure to different programming and different resources. Another be mentorship.
Yeah.
And because all of those things help create that shift, right? That shift in mindset. Because some of the kids actually, they have the drive that they need and they have the understanding, but they just don't know how to put it in play.
Or they put it in play in the wrong thing.
Or they put it in play in the wrong things, and we have to help them transition.
Yeah, something that my mom always told me growing up was that I'm gonna be the best at whatever I choose to do. Period. And so I've seen it play out in real time. I've chose to do some wild stuff out here, and I was the best at that.
Yes, sir.
And then I chose to turn it around and give back to my community. And I truly believe that in my own right, in my own mind, that I'm the best at what I do.
Yeah.
And so no, I completely understand that, man.
And I kind of feel like kid will become a victim when no one helps them make sense of the chaos in their lives. And that's the main reason why I'm so loud about mentorship.
Yeah.
And because I feel like the silence is what's killing our community.
For sure. Yeah. So, we talked about how adults and service providers can interact with these kind of kids and, steps for intervention. But can you speak a little bit more on what are some of the main drivers that's connecting kids to this kind of lifestyle?
What are the main drivers that are connecting the youth to the streets?
Absolutely.
The glamorous influence.
Talk to me.
So what a lot of people don't understand is that the streets is glamorized. I won't blame the music or the media, but the music and the media makes it look fun and appealing. And what a lot of people don't understand is that it's dark and dangerous. And that's the main reason why a lot of these young men may carry a firearm. Right? And I think that just the idea of being able to be out and live like an adult, I think that's what kind of makes it more appealing. And because to be real, a lot of the people that I know from the streets never wanted to be in the streets,
Right.
you know?
Right.
And a lot of people that are in the streets are trying to get out of the streets,
Yeah, man.
you
I
know?
got homies that don't even want to leave the house.
Yeah,
Yeah, man. So it's nothing sweet about it.
yeah,
Nothing sweet about it. That's
nah,
and I hope y'all listening, man, because that's $1 million worth of game, man. And I hope it ain't going in one ear and out the other. So, this wouldn't be the Muddy Mindset podcast without highlighting youth voices. And I had some young folks out here write in on their definition of being a victim of their environment. So we're gonna read a few of those and then offer some light feedback. And remember, here on the MMP, youth privacy and safety is the number one concern. In order to do that, just know that you won't hear any names. All right, so let's get into it. The first submission reads, being a victim of your environment means that a person feels their circumstances, often negative or challenging, are solely due to external factors beyond their control, rather than acknowledging their own role in shaping their futures. Yes, you can be a victim to your environment, but you can also get away from it if you want to that bad. Before we give a little bit of feedback on that, man, I posted this to the Muddy Mindset socials, and I added a little bit of incentive behind this question, and I told people, my favorite response would get a $10 incentive from the Muddy Mindset, and this was actually the response that won it. There were a couple others that I was fighting through, so I had the audience, I had the supporters vote on which person got it, but this is one of the submissions that got that, and I think it's one of my favorite because it highlights that you can reclaim some of that control.
yes, sir.
Being a victim is accepting your conditions
There
and
you go.
accepting that there's nothing better. Next is this one's pretty short. I think truly becoming a victim to your environment is when you aid into the negativity.
Mm.
Right? We
It's like digging yourself deeper in the ditch.
no doubt. This is a good one right here. So it's being born into circumstances that isn't always the best. Seeing and hearing certain shit can grasp that person in a way they don't even know. You don't always have to be born into the environment either. It's easy to gravitate to shit you see and hear on a daily basis. I'm speaking from experience. You can be forced and peer pressured into things, good or bad, which happens a lot. I fell victim because of peer pressure. Shit was around in my environment that wasn't supposed to be around. That led me and some friends to do something dumb, which led us to jail. It doesn't always have to be that scenario. And he gives an example. Brad's family can be all doctors and he has a passion for ball, but gets persuaded, and some could say forced, to become a doctor. That's a way of being a victim to your environment, just in a different light. That's a great response.
That's a bar.
That's a great response. And he even, he didn't even make it a life or death thing. If that's not your passion, and the people around you can't recognize your passion for what it is, and they're trying to, write your story for you, that's how you become a victim of your environment. That's what I pulled from that.
That's deep.
Sheesh. And he said, that's how he became a victim. He said, I fell victim because of peer pressure, and that, the stuff in his environment led him and his friends to do something dumb, which led him to jail. And it's dope that you can recognize that, my boy. So keep going, man.
Yeah, that's some amazing awareness right there.
For sure.
Yeah.
The next submission reads, I think it means you soak in everything you see and learn as a kid or even as an adult. Sometimes you don't really understand why things are happening to you and your loved ones. It could also be about people who made choices in life that ended up costing them later on. Kids today grow up a lot faster than previous generations because they have more technology and are more advanced. Honestly, some kids are getting into serious trouble and some aren't even 11 or 13 years old yet. A lot of them come from broken homes with no family, no food, nothing. So they do whatever they know or whatever they can just to survive.
Mm.
Bar.
How old are these kids?
It's a range of kids. These are kids that follow the podcast.
Okay.
There's some kids that's in my program that like to participate. We work with high school age kids. I even work with kids from 5th to 8th grade. So this is just Toledo's youth. These are their voices.
Now y'all hear what's coming from the youth, man.
Yeah, man, y'all get to hear their perspective front and center. The Muddy perspective front and center. This reads, I feel like it means being put in a situation or place which you have no control over and have to deal with things that affect your life, choices, and future, falling victim to the belief that you have no choice, but to be the same as everyone else, and the belief of a real nigga. That's he left us off with a bar. He said being a victim is falling into that belief of a real nigga. And I really want to talk to him about what does that mean to you though?
Right.
Yeah, what does that mean? The next two are pretty short, and then I got a special one after that. Next two reads, allowing the negatives of your life to consume you instead of repurposing it as motivation. And I remember when I got this one, I responded and I said, this might be one of my favorite ones because it's so short, it's so textbook, but it's just so concise, it's straight to the point.
Mm-hmm.
Allowing the negatives of your life to consume you instead of repurposing it as motivation. Next one reads, it means being trapped in a dangerous place where violence is normal and survival feels like luck.
Mm. Where violence is normal and survival feels like luck.
Luck. That's what we meant by some people can't resonate with these experiences because survival to many people out here feels like a right, not a privilege, not like something that can be granted or taken away. It doesn't to some of these kids out here, survival feels
Long shot.
like I just hit the lottery. Like, damn, we made it home today. That's a good day. That's crazy. And that's something to really put things in perspective. And so look, we got one last submission from a young man who I can truly vouch for. My dog, he works every day to be better than what his environment has to offer. And he wanted to get on here and offer his muddy perspective. Let me read this off for y'all. And mind you, he was trying to get this message out, so pay attention. So out here where I'm from, Toledo, the trenches, your choices either make you or break you. It's easy to fall victim to what's around you because it feel like you ain't got many options. You wake up and you already got to watch how you move, who you stand by, what you say. One little thing could put a target on your back or get you caught up. It's really that quick. Most people on the outside don't see that. They think we just wilding for no reason. They don't get that sometimes you stuck between a rock and a hard place. You see that fast money, the street respect. It look good when you broke, but that same choice can cost you your freedom or worse, your life. And it don't just hit you. When you're behind that wall, your people feel that. Your mama stressing, your people scraping to send you money, your little ones growing up without you. When you gone, they got to carry that pain forever. Out here, it's so easy to do what everybody else doing because you don't see nobody showing you different. Ain't no blueprint. Folks tell you to stay out the way, but don't tell you how.
Mm.
That's one right there. That's why your choices matter more than you think, even the little ones. Because the same trenches you trying to survive in will eat you alive if you don't think ahead. At the end of the day, it's about moving smart so you can make it out and do better for your people. One decision at a time, that's what separates who gets stuck and who gets out. Wow. Powerful.
Man, and you know, I hear so much wisdom in these kids, man. You know,
I
and
got chills, boy. Powerful.
just so much self-awareness.
And like I said, man, this is somebody that I vouch for 100%. And I ain't gonna say in which capacity I work with them, like I said, for my safety and his, but man, I've seen the transition in this young man. I know this young man's family, done seen him outside of the realm of work and understand where he really comes from. And it is so easy for him to just say, look, this is my environment, this is what I'm a victim to. But he works every single day to try and turn that around. And that's something that here on the Muddy Mindset, we look forward to shining a light on.
Definitely.
No doubt, man. So, speaking of shining a light, we're near the end of the show, but every episode we do something called the Muddy Spotlight. So, here at the Muddy Spotlight, we highlight a local leader, youth, or program that we see is out here making a real impact. It's my chance to give folks their flowers while they're still here. So, my spotlight, it goes to a program, and you may have heard it in the last episode through a youth submission, but it's called Shoot This, Not That. So instead of picking up weapons, these youth get cameras and learn to express themselves and their stories through photography. And they experiment with some traditional shots and even flying drones. But the youth involved are given access to resources and connections that open doors that they never knew were there. This program hits harder because my younger brother got involved himself and it changed his life. He found a passion, poured himself into it, and now he's featured in our local art museum. And that's the kind of transformation that this program sparks. And like I just said a little bit earlier, one of the youth submissions from the previous episode talked about their experience with this program. So if you want to hear it from the youth, man, go back and check it out. And obviously, I wouldn't recommend this program to my brother or any of my participants if it wasn't making a real impact. And I see y'all like family, so trust me when I recommend it to y'all. So behind every great program is a host of great minds that make this thing happen. Two of those great minds behind the program are David Bush, the Commissioner of Youth Services, and Davion Beach, the Youth Program Coordinator. Their leadership is key in making the program what it is. Their ability to connect with youth and equip them with skills that can change their life is the reason why this program gets a spotlight. But you can go into as much detail or as little detail as you like, but the floor is yours. Who do you want to put in the muddy spotlight, Mil?
I want to put a few people in the muddy spotlight.
Talk to me, man.
Well, first I wanna shout out my boy, my partner, Johnny Reese.
Johnny Reese.
Mr. Reese has been doing great work for the community for many, many, many years. I kind of think that when people are used to seeing people, they think that the work is easy, and they don't stop to just congratulate people for the things that they're doing. Mr. Reese is not only does he have a family that he takes care of, but he's a teacher. He runs his own business, and he also runs the sports league as well. I wanted to give my brother his flowers because he deserves them.
Yeah.
He's also someone that has been working with some of these transitional youth as well. But yeah, man, I want to give him his flowers.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Hope this gets out to him, man.
Yeah, definitely, man. Yeah, he deserve it. He deserve it.
No doubt. Was there anybody else that you want to throw out there?
Another person I want to throw out there is my other partner in crime, Kenny Davis.
Kenny Davis.
Mr. Davis is doing amazing work as well. He's running the Tessa sports program. Used to be Mid City, so now it's Tessa. But he's trying to just do some transitional things with the league. And hopefully we can help build some of these other organizations that's connected as well. So I wanted to give him his flowers, and he's also working with some of the transitional youth in the mental health field, and just some other things as well.
Yeah, man, that's perfect, man. That is perfect. Milton, thank you. Thank you for an amazing episode, my guy. The audience wouldn't know from what we just recorded, but you shared earlier that this was your first interview and you killed it, my dog.
Yes, sir.
This is the first time that I've ever interviewed somebody. And so, I want this to be a testament to what can happen when you step out of your comfort zone and
Yes.
just go for it.
Yes, sir.
So, as a small gesture to show my appreciation, I want you to choose the title of the episode. And I got 3 suggestions to make it easier. I want you to take ownership of this.
All right.
So the 3 titles that I have suggested, mind you, if you got something off the dome, go for it.
Okay.
Three titles are Muddy Mentors. Next one is Milton's Mission. Third one is Breaking Cycles and Building Bridges.
Okay. Milton's Mission, Muddy
Mentors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that, Muddy Mentors. What about From Projects to Purpose?
From Projects to Purpose, man. Look, that's it then, man. Episode 4 of the MMP will be titled From Projects to Purpose. You've heard it here first. Before we close this thing out, man, do you have any dope initiatives, events, or socials that you want to plug into the audience? I need you to talk about your book, bro. You got to talk about that book. Let people know what it's about. Let people know where they can find it, man. And shout out some of your socials so that people know where to find you.
Okay. So right now, I'm working on a book, and it should be released. I want to say maybe the fourth quarter this year.
Okay.
And the book is about grit, growth, and God.
Grit, growth, and God.
Yeah. The bank on yourself mindset. What this book highlights is lessons from pain, and how pain builds purpose.
Cool.
And how faith, struggle, and purpose intertwine. And to your journey can help drive you to your future and what you want to be. So,
Right.
so yes, this book should be available. Like I said, fourth quarter this year is the plan to release it.
Looking forward, man. Fourth quarter.
Yep, you can find me. You can find me on Linktree. So my Linktree is gonna be Bank on Yourself.
Okay, dope. I got you. That's gonna be in the description, right with the Muddy Mindset socials and emails for this episode. If you want to tap in with my boy, if you need more information on this book that he's about to release, please tap in with Milton, man. All right, so look, y'all know that we always leave you with some words of advice before we close out, and mine's is simple. You can't grow in your comfort zone, so just do it. So, Milton, the floor is yours.
So my piece of advice is, this actually, I got this from a book I was reading. Once you learn the power of your thoughts, you won't just think anything. Once you learn the power of your words, you won't just say anything. And once you learn the power of your presence, you won't just be anywhere. So protect your mind, guard your mouth, and be intentional about your space, because where your focus goes, your future grows.
There go that word again, intentional, man. Big, huge shout out to Milton for blessing us on episode 4 of the MMP. This episode is going to be titled From the Projects to Purpose. Like I said earlier, man, you came through with $1 million worth of game, my boy. It has been an absolute honor. And y'all have just watched episode 4 of the Muddy Mindset podcast with your host, Beezy. We out.